My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. This is the only channel dedicated to UFC picks and DraftKings lineups run by professional fighters and MMA insiders. Every week, I join Nick Newell, professional fighter, professional model, and ESPN Top 10 guest, along with Dan Kramer, UFC fighter, Bellator fighter, Ultimate Fighter alumni, and Jacob Lyons, a skinny kid from Indiana. And we break down every single fight, the betting odds, the DraftKings picks, and we set you up for success. This week, we're breaking down the Blaydes versus Lewis fight night. Next up at UFC Fight Night, Blaydes versus Lewis, we have Shana Dobson versus Casey O'Neill. This is a weird one. I'm not going to lie. This is a very weird fight. This is a tough fight to pick. It's, if you zoom out, this is sort of a regional fight. Let's try to build up O'Neill. Let's try to turn her into somebody. I don't know if it necessarily belongs on a decent fight night card, but they are both very talented. They both could win this fight. Shana Dobson is coming off what might have been the upset of the century. The odds were ridiculous in her last fight, and she won that fight just by toughness and outlasting and just continuing the march forward. And Casey O'Neill is an up-and-comer, is a prospect that they're trying to push, and that's why this matchup exists. So, Nick, what are your thoughts on this fight? Do you think the UFC is sort of setting Casey up to win, and that's what this matchup is, or what do you think's going on here?
I remember watching Maria Arapova fight and absolutely destroy Hannah Cifers, and I was like, wow, this is a mean woman. And afterwards, she called out Shana Dobson, which I thought was kind of like a weak thing to do because at the time, Shana Dobson had a 3-4 record and probably shouldn't even been in the UFC, had like 3 straight losses. And her record's actually 4-4 now. But she won that fight. She was a huge underdog, like one of the biggest ones of the year, and won that fight and came back. So you can't count her out. But then she has 3 straight losses to women that have lost a ton of fights in the UFC, not really killers. So it's really hard to get a range on that, to kind of figure out like how's she going to show up, how good is she going to be. And O'Neill hasn't really fought anyone that's proven. She has a better record, but she hasn't fought the level of competition that Dobson's fought. But she's a winner, and I'm going to take her for the win because the momentum that she has going, I think she'll keep it going, and I believe that she will win this fight. But I am also not taking her because I just don't know enough about her in terms of versus the level of competition that Dobson has fought. I know she's good, but it's all about who you fight, and there's too many unknowns, so I'm not touching it.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, essentially. I mean, Shana Dobson's a fighter, and she's got grit, and she's tough because she got beat on, survived the round, came back, and then won that fight. And it was very, very, very lopsided fight, or fight odds that, she was definitely supposed to lose and came back and won. It's tricky, though, because like you said, Casey O'Neill doesn't have a lot of fights. There's not enough fights to really look at and make a true assessment. But she does come from, like, it's literally in her blood. Her dad was a professional kickboxer. It's literally in her blood to be doing this. She's training. She takes it very seriously. Her father owns a promotion that she's fought in. So I think she should win. But this is – I'm not going to touch it in DraftKings, and I'm not going to touch it with real money. And if we look at the DraftKings very quickly before I give it to you, Dan, $8,500. That is a lot of money. That should be essentially a lock. And then with Dobson – she's supposed to be this giant underdog, with $7,700 is not giant underdog. $7,700 is like, small underdog. So I'm not touching it. I think it's all these numbers are a disaster. So I'm not touching it. But Dan, what are your thoughts here? And do you agree?
Overall, I agree. I think there's a lot of hype with Casey O'Neill. But from the fights I saw, they were pretty one-sided, with kind of really her getting her way from beginning to end. And Angelo, I thought I had a little secret intel, but you mentioned it. You positioned it a different way than I'm going to position it. But the league that she fought in that her dad runs, to me, he's the matchmaker. You think he's going to set her up with any fights that aren't going to make her look good? I don't know if that's the case, but I looked at most of her opponents' records, and they were either 0-0 at the time, and the people that she fought with more fights than that or had decent win streaks, their opponents mostly had no fights. So I'm not saying she's not good. I'm just saying the level of competition. We'll find out if she's good on Saturday night. And I believe it's Shana Dobson, but Shana Dobson looked really tough in her last fight against Agapova, who was very good. She just gassed really hard when she couldn't get the finish. But I'll say Dobson looked tough even in that first round when she was taking some shots. And I think the big thing is I believe right before that fight, she moved her training camp to Elevation Fight Team. So I think she probably improved a lot, in that training camp. I think she's going to continue to improve. She's only like 31 or 32 years old. So I think we're going to see a much better Shana Dobson. And I think it's going to be a close fight, but I think she's live for an upset here. I probably am going to put her in my DraftKings lineup right now at 7,700. I wish she was a little cheaper, but right now I feel pretty good about her being very competitive and potentially winning this fight.
All right, so Dan going with the underdog, 2 for the favorite, 1 with the underdog. Jacob, what are your thoughts here?
Great minds. What am I saying? Great minds think alike. The champs are back at it again. And Dan nailed it. The team elevation switch makes all the difference. She's around unbelievable fighters every day that she's training. And that just changed her career. I do agree with Dan, though. I wish she was cheaper. I have it in my notes here. I wish she was like a $7,300 fighter. And at 3-4 or 4-4, against an undefeated fighter, that's what she probably should have been. That's how much respect that DraftKings and even odds makers, when you look at it, have in Dobson to win this fight, because I think the UFC messed this one up big time. I think they want O'Neal to succeed. They thought, we'll give her Shana Dobson. She looks the part. She's very clean fighter, in and out. And I don't think she's ready for what Shana Dobson's about to do to her. She doesn't want a dirty fight, and Shana Dobson's going to get in her face, and she's not going to like it. And Dan nailed it again. I think Nick mentioned it as well. The level of competition that she has faced, even if Dobson is a 4-4 fighter, she's a different 4-4 fighter now. So I don't have Shana Dobson in my lineup. I wish she was cheaper, and I would, but I have her winning the fight.
Okay, yeah. So we're split on this. I don't think you sounded the most confident. Honestly, the rest of us think it's sort of a pretty close fight because we have a relative unknown versus sort of a gritty 500 fighter.
I just looked up the odds, by the way, because I can track the odds of where they were and where they ended up. At one point, she was plus 185, and that's been bet down probably by sharp money all the way to plus 125. So that means a lot of people are seeing it that way and pulling that line down. So we'll see. I would have loved that bet all day at plus 185, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, she's definitely not a 2-1 underdog. It's definitely a closer fight than we imagine. Before you go, check out the description below. In there, we have links to our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, and more importantly, to our DraftKings League. Check out the league, join the league, participate in the contests, and as we get going and as you start winning, we're going to start handing out gift cards and participating and doing things like that. So check those out. Every week, there are drops on every fight card. So make sure you check out this channel and our social media on Saturday before the fights start so that you have our most updated lineups and picks.